First story. Am I the a-hole for calling my husband out for lying about our baby gender? My husband, 31-year-old male, and I, 29-year-old female, are expecting our first child together. We plan to have 3, by the way. Ever since I got pregnant, my husband's been saying that he wanted our first child to be a boy. I don't know why. He never cared in the past, and he's the type who treats everyone equally. But his reason was that he was the first male child in the family, and so it'd be lovely if we followed the tradition. I didn't take it seriously because honestly, that's ridiculous, but harmless. So why not let him just express his wishes? But later I found out he was telling the family it was going to be a boy, and that he had a hunch and he was 100% certain and positive about it. He kept saying the same thing over and over, and I had to tell him to slow down because even if he didn't know he was going over the top, he was still giving the family false hopes. He promised to stop, but still says he had a strong hunch and that I'll see that he was right all along. We've found out our baby gender this past week, and it's a girl. My husband admittedly seemed a bit upset, and he said because this was not what he was expecting. Even said he wasn't sure about the ultrasound results, which is a bit too much. Anyway, we got home today and he stayed on his phone for hours. In the evening, I started getting calls from family congratulating us for the baby boy. I felt confused. I asked my mother-in-law how she found out, and she said my husband made the announcement on his Facebook. I was upset. I checked his page with my phone and saw it. I wanted to talk to him about his lie, but first I made an announcement on my Facebook and announced that it's a girl, then called my husband out for lying to his entire side of the family. He apparently saw it instantly and came into the room looking angry, asking what I was doing. I asked why he lied to his family about our baby's gender, and he said it was just a temporary lie, till he could slowly get them to think it'll be a girl. I said this was illogical and unfair for our daughter. His phone rang and he freaked out, demanding I take the post down because his family are beginning to see it and are calling. I refused and he got pissed, saying we should be discussing this privately, not calling each other out on social media for everyone to see. He told me to take it down, but not until he takes his down, which he called petty and passive-aggressive. Then he stormed off saying he won't be answering anyone's calls after I sent them to harass him with what I posted on my Facebook, instead of talking to him privately. Am I the a-hole? Now the top comments. Not the a-hole. But he's right. You shouldn't be calling each other out on social media. I'd be most concerned why my partner is suddenly so concerned with having a male child, to the extent he is willing to lie to his whole family. Does he think if he keeps wishing the baby's gender will magically change? This behavior seems toxic, and I would try to initiate some kind of discussion, even in therapy, together or him alone, to work through why he is acting in this manner. I hope you get some answers and support soon, OP. Everyone sucks here. Maybe more him than you, but wow, maybe everyone should just get off Facebook. Your husband is being ridiculous, of course, with the whole thing, and his temporary lie thing makes no sense at all. Announcing it's a boy is just bizarre. But you didn't even speak to him before making a post of your own? What's the point in doing that? Just talk to your partner instead of having fights via Facebook, which, to be honest, no one wants to see. That's ridiculous, but harmless. So why not let him just express his wishes? It's not harmless though. It's misogyny. How would you like to know that your father wished you had been a boy? If he's posting it to Facebook for the approval and reinforcement of his family, sounds like they have a pretty deeply ingrained family culture of misogyny. We never announced the gender of our children because it was irrelevant as their hair or eye color. Interesting, but not super important. Second story. Am I the a-hole for not paying the vet bills after my neighbor's dog ate food I left outside? This week, I, 28-year-old female, hosted a family gathering. The people there were my sister and her family, 4 in total, my brother and his wife, my boyfriend, and mine and his parents. I live relatively out in the country, so it's not exactly common for whole properties to be fenced. Usually it's just fences for animals. Since it was nice out, we ate lunch outside. Some of the food wasn't immediately brought inside after we ate, including some desserts that were mostly chocolate, and a bit of fruit. I figured the food would probably be fine being left out for a little bit, so if not, it could just be thrown away. The food was covered, too. After we ate, we went down to the small pond that's on my property for a little bit. Probably half an hour or 45 minutes. It has a nice dock and view of the trees, and it's a great place to spend some time. When we got back up to where the food was left, the neighbor's dog was on the table, eating food, and had ripped the covers off. I got my neighbors and they apologized, but asked what the dog had eaten. I told them, and some of the food was toxic to dogs. Chocolate, grapes, etc. They started freaking out and rushed their dog to the vet. Yesterday, they contacted me and asked if I would pay the vet bills. Their dog survived, but needed extensive care and had racked up quite a bit in vet bills. I offered to pay a quarter of the bills, but they wanted all of it, because the food she ate was mine. I told them if they hadn't let their dog on my property, it wouldn't have eaten my food. They said that it had accidentally gotten out and they didn't mean to, and that I should pay all the bills. I then made a remark about how they should pay for the food the dog ate, but they weren't amused and got more upset. I told them a quarter or nothing, and they're still upset about it and want me to pay more. I did leave the food out though. Am I the a-hole for not paying the full cost? Now the top comments. Not the a-hole, it's their dog. They let it out accidentally. They failed to supervise their pet. The fact that the trouble the dog got into happened to be in your property doesn't make you responsible here. It's the responsibility of the pet owner to keep their pet safe. Full stop. Not the a-hole, owner of 3 dogs here. You shouldn't have offered to pay for any of the bills. By their logic, if their dog was run over by a car while roaming around, they'd want the driver to pay the vet bills. Dog got out of their property and was unsupervised. They are responsible. Not the a-hole. Their dog trespassed into your property, and it is their fault that their dog was left unattended. Pay them nothing, not even a quarter. If you pay them even a small amount, they must use that legally against you to get more money. They might say that this small amount of money is an admission from you that you accept it was your fault. Third story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister it's not my fault she didn't want for her kids to be happy about her remarrying? My sister got married 2 weeks ago today. She lost her first husband 18 months ago to cancer. They had my nephew, Tyler, 11 years old, and my niece, Kaylee, 10 years old, together. Tyler and Kaylee have been lost since their dad died, and became even more lost when they learned their mom was dating again 9 months later. My sister did a lot of the grieving before her late husband died, so nobody was too surprised she was ready to find someone fast. We all kind of thought she might wait longer to talk marriage though. But after 4 years, she was engaged and the kids were not okay. They have cried on my shoulder several times because they don't get how their mom could get married again. And they don't get what they're supposed to like about the new guy. My nephew even said he doesn't get how he's supposed to love him and think of him as a new dad, or even a new member of the family, when their family was so good before, and now they'll never have a good family again. I have reassured them the best I can. My sister and I lost our brother years ago, and I know the scar loss leaves. But since I never lost a parent, it's hard. I was in charge of the kids at my sister's wedding, and it was tough. Both of them walked away from the ceremony to stand outside and cry, and my sister was pissed at me about it, because I was supposed to keep them in the wedding and stop them from making a big deal out of it. But I couldn't make them stop crying. All I could do was comfort them and try to cheer them up somehow. But man, it's hard. Those kids are devastated by the marriage. And I mean, they're in so much pain because of it. My sister confronted me a few days after the wedding and told me I should have done more. That I let the kids spoil the day and make a scene because everyone there heard them crying and saw them leave. She said as her brother, I should have worked to make her day perfect, and that I need to be more supportive of her and help the kids accept the changes and be happy for her and the family. I told her it's not my fault she didn't wait for the kids to be happy about her remarrying, and that I don't have a magic wand to make them happy, that they need therapy and time. She called me unsupportive, judgmental of her decision, and said I lacked compassion for her loss, her grief, and her need for adult love. Am I the a-hole? Now the top comments. Not the a-hole. She has made the new relationship a priority over her kids and them dealing with their grief. The fact that she is a grown-up and did her grieving long before her husband passed away doesn't mean the kids did. There is something seriously wrong with her priorities if she thinks her kids made a scene and caring about having a perfect day rather than the fact her kids are having such a hard time with everything. Not the a-hole. I wouldn't even have gone to that wedding. She has the right to get married. And as you say, she started grieving before her husband died. But getting remarried 18 months later, when the kids are still grieving and are vocal about how they're struggling with everything, she's going to be hated by her kids, and as soon as they're going to be able to, they're going to leave and cut ties with her. She could have had adult love and still respected her kids and the time they need to grieve their father. I really don't get people like that. Not the a-hole. Your sister is heartless. She seems not to have any empathy for her own kids. Really cold. I hope her kids are getting over the loss, or else there will be no bright future. I am sorry for their loss. They lost a father, and now they lost the heart of their mother. Last story. Am I the a-hole for exposing my son's future stepdad and causing my son to resent him? My son is 17 years old. I co-parent with my ex-wife, and I'm not married nor am I seeing anyone. I'm just focusing on work and providing for my son. My ex-wife, however, so far dated 3 guys who are just not nice. The third one, Anthony or Tony, is a somewhat decent guy, but can act self-centered and is selfish in a lot of ways. He stated that he's not interested in being in a competition to win my son over, and just wanted to be a positive role model in his life. I said, why not, as long as he's bringing positive influence. I work in a highly demanding job, and so I'm mostly absent from holidays, weekends, birthdays, etc. It's unfortunate, but my son understands, and we're close enough spiritually, so that makes up for the distance. His birthday was days ago. I couldn't attend, but I already sent him a pretty cool, bit expensive wristwatch, and it was supposed to arrive 2 days before his birthday. I talked to my son to ask if he received it yet, and he said no. I was so confused, I went to my ex-wife's house to inquire about this matter. She said they didn't receive anything, and Tony said that the store must have gotten the wrong address, and suggested I just buy another watch from another store if I had no time and had work to take care of. I checked with the online store from which I bought the watch, and they assured me the watch was received and showed me proof, which was a signature allegedly from my ex's brother. My ex's brother swore he didn't receive anything, nor was at his sister's house at the time. I had a talk with the person who delivered the watch, and he described the guy as 5'4", with short hair, a clean-shaven face, wearing a red t-shirt, and said he was my ex's brother. I figured it was actually Tony. I told my ex, and she and him denied. I demanded to check the front door cam. And there he was, taking the watch and re-entering the house. My ex and my son were shocked. I mumbled, "So much for a positive role model." Tony started stuttering, then said he was just keeping it for my son till his birthday. My son said he saw him wearing a new watch when he got out, but couldn't outright confront him, and Tony obviously wasn't planning on giving it back. I said he was planning to steal my gift from my son, and he swore this wasn't the case. My son said he won't speak to him anymore. My ex said I just drove a wedge between my son and his stepdad by unjustly accusing him of stealing the watch, and now made my son hate him when I should have discussed this privately. I said my son deserves to know what his future stepdad did and that he should have given the watch to my son the minute he received it. They insisted he was just keeping it. I later learned my son no longer wanted to spend his birthday with his stepdad and went to his grandparents' house to celebrate. My ex was livid, saying Tony got excluded from our son's birthday and it's because of me, and demanded I clear the confusion. Am I the a-hole? Now the top comments. Not the a-hole. The guy stole your son's gift for himself. You did not drive a wedge between him and your son. He did that all by himself. Did he really think this would not get out? Your wife seems to be deep in denial if she really believes the story that her boyfriend was just keeping it for him, especially since you already told your son about the gift. The guy got caught in a series of repeated lies, including forging his brother's signature and lying that it had gotten delivered. This wedge between him and your son is of his own making because he is a thief. Not the a-hole. You didn't drive a wedge between your son and his stepdad. He did. The truth would have obviously come out sooner or later, regardless of your intervention. It speaks volumes when the man claiming to be a positive role model to your son steals from him and then acts like the victim once caught. On a side note, I would advise against gifting anything to your son unless you can do this in person. Your ex taking his side means that her priorities are extremely backwards and would likely cover up a partner stealing things from your son in the future as well. Not the a-hole, you did the right thing. You protected your son from having a thief as a potential stepdad. Thing is, they still insist Tony was just keeping the watch, so I thought maybe I was too harsh, but upon learning that he was actually wearing it, I felt differently.